Hello, everyone. My name's John Dawber, and I am the Vice President and Managing Director at Novo Nordisk Global Business Services. We're a Danish headquartered pharmaceutical company who've existed here with our GBS in Bangalore for about 18 years. Thank you for having me at Spectra 2026. We're at a point where AI, for us also, is moving beyond experimentation and becoming embedded in how the work gets actually done. So the real question is not, can AI improve productivity, but really it's about, for us, how we fundamentally redesign workflows to deliver better outcomes faster and with greater consistency. And for a pharmaceutical company like ours, that means treating more patients more quickly with our effective and novel medicines. In a regulated business like ours, the productivity is the ability to deliver the right work faster, with more consistency and with confidence, because our outputs, as I said, almost always ultimately affect patient safety, patient access, and regulatory trust around the world. So what does productivity really look like in this regulated environment? Well, when you look across global operations, whether it's clinical work, safety surveillance, regulatory documentation, most teams don't lose time on hard science. They lose time on repeating the same function time and time again. And in our case, that's finding the right information. It could be extracting it from messy sources, reformatting it time and time again, and then checking it to make sure nothing was missed. That's for us where productivity gets stuck. And that's the moment for us, and again, now where agentic AI becomes relevant, because it's more than just speeding up one single step. It's about helping automate the chain of work that turns a request into a trusted outcome. Let me focus on a couple of examples where this perhaps becomes very tangible. First example, reimagining clinical data workflows. So in clinical development, that's bringing medicines to market through clinical trials. One of the biggest bottlenecks has been data access and interpretation. Traditionally, our data is fragmented across many systems. There's many query data sets that analysts manually investigate, and insights take real long time to generate, and decisions are therefore delayed. With agentic AI, we can change the entire system so that the system interacts with each other. And we've deployed some agents here where a user can ask a question in natural language. The agent interprets the intent, generates the required queries, pulls the data from multiple systems, and then produces visualizations of that data and summarizes instantly. What this changes is that the expert stops burning time on navigation, formatting, and rework, and instead spends time on thinking and hypothesizing for the agent to do its work. The system accelerates the mechanical path, and the experts do the validation, interpretation, and decide on the clinical relevance. And that compresses the cycle time without compressing the accountability of a regulated environment and a very important thing for patients. Secondly, we've done end-to-end automation of regulatory and compliance workflows. So as an example, for regulatory documentation, workflows are incredibly highly structured. They're very compliance heavy because that's the nature of our business, and traditionally very manual. So highly competent and experienced medical professionals would be reviewing documents line to line, cross-checking across regulatory standards, validating all the data and all the sources of that data, and then consolidating outputs. Now with agentic, we can have one agent that classifies and digitizes documents. We can have another one that extracts key data points, and we can have a third that validates against existing regulatory documents and frameworks. And the system then will flag the confidence levels for us to be able to quality check our documents incredibly quickly. To put some numbers on that, this tool alone takes the quality checking of one regulatory document down from 40 hours, one person's entire week, to 40 minutes for some of our review cycles. The third example, I would say, would be in patient safety, a critical part of the pharmaceutical value chain and part of our license to operate. So safety monitoring of our medicines requires consistency at scale. And here, AI-enabled automation can improve productivity by replacing high-volume manual tasks with automated detection, signal detection, and freeing experts to make the judgment calls of an entire large piece of data as to whether something is related to the drug or not related to the drug and requires reporting to authorities or not. In our context, AI-driven automation for adverse event detection takes this large share of manual work, about 90% of it actually, saving hundreds of hours and strengthening our ability to have quality patient safety checking and therefore quality data monitoring and reporting. And again, the productivity gain is faster detection and better scalability with the human in the loop for the overall clinical oversight of the relevance. So what actually changes in organizations like ours is that AI handles repeatable high work, humans focus on judgment and decision making, and the roles become more hybrid, work becomes more outcome driven, and increasingly productivity is measured by faster decisions, reduced duplication, and better outcomes per unit of effort. But it only works if we're deliberate, and therefore in an organization like ours, a highly regulated environment, we need clear governance frameworks, we need to validate the outputs, and the ultimate accountability sits with a human with decades of experience. So in closing, if I've got to leave you with one practical takeaway, it would be shift focus from tasks to outcomes. And maybe, the classic consulting kind of question, what outcome are we trying to achieve and where does the work slow down? This is for a pharma company like ours and many others like us, where agentic AI adds most value, removing the friction from workflows across teams, multiple workflows, and for decisions. So from where I sit, AI adoption succeeds when it becomes part of our daily work, when people experience the ability to do things better, faster, and with greater impact. And when we position the AI as a co-worker across the entire value chain that amplifies our ability to make skilled judgment and critical decisions with speed and with impact. If we get that right, simply we get more reliable outcomes at speed across teams, across time zones, and ultimately, the important thing for a pharmaceutical company, we improve patient care. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much. much for listening.